but the same principles that if you're strong at 5, you can be strong at 150, as long as you're disciplined and you kind of set yourself to the same rules and don't deviate. Shopify, we started it on June 16th, 2016, I believe. And our first $1 million month was November when the election started popping off. So because of that design single-handedly amplified it.
There were days where it was red, red, red. And it's like, fuck me. Like, when's this red going to stop? And then boom, new idea, it hit. Red's gone. Mm-hmm. And now all of a sudden we got green, we scale horizontally, and then we scale vertically. Anybody listening on this, like the next $100 million acquisition could be you. Like it truly could, because there's nothing special about what we did.
Are you ready to invest in your print-on-demand business and take it seriously? I'm looking for 10 people who want to learn the skills and the strategy to build a 6-figure print-on-demand business. If you're one of them, make sure you apply now at podhacks.co. Link below.
Fellas, thank you. Thank you so much. I sort of tap you on the shoulder every few months, Keegan, just to get an update on where you're at and how you're crushing it. And I love how both your names literally are K Rush, so they both spell crush. So I think there might be something in that. But guys, from the very beginning, I've always looked to you guys as inspirational, right? And the one thing that I realized when we hung out, when we came over there in 2017, was that you weren't that different. You just had a set of rules and you stuck by them and you believed in yourselves. First and foremost, how did you get started? Who are you and why did you even look at print on demand in the first place?
First off, obviously, both of our last names are Rush on here. We're brothers. I'm the younger one, 32. Corey's, God, I don't even know. He's up there.
I'm the older one, better looking one, wittier one.
But he would still get stomped out by me, though. So there's that at least. I've always had like a background of internet culture, early sports message boards in the late 90s, early 2000s. And along the way, I just picked up subtle Photoshop skills. And just over time, I was a part of other websites and I didn't really like how they did things. So I kind of wanted to march to the beat of my own drum. And instead of consuming the content as a consumer, I thought, all right, I want to start my own website. So eventually I would monetize through Google AdSense and stuff like that. And just being on the internet, advancing my skills of Photoshop. And I want to say it really took off when I was looking for a way to monetize a blog and message board. And I stumbled upon Teespring.com. Teespring is where me and Ron met, obviously. But whenever I started selling on there, I set up my first campaign. So nowadays with print on demand, you install an app. And if you sell one, your margin isn't going to be the best, but it's going to print. But the early days, the OGs, we had to climb uphill in the snow backwards to get a campaign to sell 10, and then it would print. And the margins were still pretty shitty at, right at 10.
Wasn't it 25 that we had to tip at? Or was this like right at the beginning?
Yeah, that was right around the beginning. I think it depended on what type of garment you selected.
But Keegan, what if we only sold 8?
So if you only sold 8, you either had the choice, you got to buy the extra 2 for it to tip the campaign, or you just had to let it go out the window. And my first campaign actually sold 8 out of 10. And it was like, oh shit, I guess I wasn't really intelligent enough at the time because I didn't let it tip. I wasn't going to spend the extra money. I was a 22, 23-year-old kid, no degree.
Abundance mentality, hey?
Yeah, I just like hustling. And I want to say around the time I had a blog message board that monetized through Google AdSense. I had a part-time job working in retail. And then me and my brother had a flag football league that we actually made pretty solid money on. And between those 3 gigs, I kept myself busy. I was always teaching myself more and more with Photoshop. And eventually, whenever I ran that campaign, I thought, well, hell, I have an audience. I have a blog. What if I created a t-shirt that catered to the audience of the blog? Because at first it was just the logo of the website. Not that many people want to walk around with just the logo of a website of maybe a blog they read. But if you cater the design around their interest, maybe they'll be a little more apt to buy it and want to wear it. So the first one after that sold 43, which was pretty good, pretty solid money. It was $500-600. This is about what I made a paycheck working at the mall in retail. And then the second one after that sold 430. And then the third one after that sold 789, I think. And I was literally making my monthly income, before I would even clock in for the day.
I thought he was stealing drugs, like just to be completely candid. And I wasn't offended by it. I was like, hey man, he's doing something. That's a hustle. That's cool.
Hook me up.
It turns out you walk in, you smell like it's like the DTG Plastisol smell in the house from where he finally started ordering those extra 2 to tip campaigns. But it was wild to kind of see that start. And from an outsider, I was not an internet person outside of patrolling the AOL chat rooms. I didn't know the Reddit side of the world and the Photoshop side of the world. I came from the corporate kind of side of things. So to see him kind of start this was crazy because that was still early. This is 2012, 13 we're talking. I mean, this was not, Amazon hadn't even made that first big step yet where their shit was on your door every day. So it was kind of wild to get to be there. We weren't there during the, .com boom, but we were there during this kind of 2.0 web explosion of e-commerce. But he was there like initially, and I got to see, call it Bitcoin at $1. I got to see Bitcoin at $1. He got to see it at 10 cents. I wish you would have had the wherewithal to buy a bunch back then, and me too.
And just as a side note, I do feel kind of dumb. I tell a story whenever it pops up. I was aware of what Bitcoin was when it was stupid cheap. Didn't buy it.
We all did.
Yeah.
No, I didn't. I had no idea until like 2015, maybe.
To continue on, I was making money hand over fist at this point. And I mean, he saw the money that was coming in. It was actually getting to the scary part of I'm making so much money. I don't know what to do with it. I don't know what to put in the bank. I don't know what to set aside for the IRS and taxes. So I did keep 15, 20 grand in a drawer just because I was an idiot. And I'll never do that again. Ever. So Cory was starting to see how much money was coming in, and I started paying him to help me run my books and my taxes. And eventually we were both just like, what are we doing? I mean, if Cory leaves his job and leaves the corporate world and takes everything that he learns along with the hustle and everything that I've learned, we'll be able to blow this up 10x what we were at.
So what's the timeline on this at this point? From when you like your first campaign, so
about a year.
Okay. So when you first launched a campaign on Teespring as it was to your first winner, how long was that period?
Probably it was really a couple weeks because I launched the first campaign as just the logo of the website.
Yes.
Idiot stumbles across a website. He slaps his logo up. Is surprised nobody wants to buy it. Then the second I actually connected the audience to the design, it just blew up. The first one and then the second one.
You started selling what people wanted, not what you wanted to sell, right?
Exactly.
It's weird what happens when you do that, right?
Strange. So strange. But it's a simple mistake that like a lot of newbies make. Like, the very first thing is like, oh, I want to get in here and I want to do this, I want to do that. I'm like, you need to understand that it's not about you at all. If you want to make money, it's about your audience. Create something amazing.
It's funny you say that. We talk about that literally every day. Keegan and I will get in spats sometimes on a decision, whether it's a hiring decision, an org chart decision, a design decision, anything. And at the end of the day, we're like, why are we arguing? Just what's the data say? Like, do the customers
exactly
telling if they want this? Oh, they're not. Well, shit. In that case, it really doesn't matter. Like, we're spending too much time on something that's not generating revenue.
Yeah, spot on. So from that initial win, or when you found that you wanted to get to the audience, to when you were starting to crush it with a lot of money coming in and you realized that 15 grand in your drawer wasn't a good idea. What is that timeline? So we're what, 2 weeks in, you get your first taste of it, and then it's like 50 weeks until your brother comes.
Yeah, it was almost like every week there was a smaller, more incremental win. So instead of saying, all right, well, I made a lot of money on one t-shirt campaign, I said, what's going to happen? How much money can I make when I have 2 up? And then when I have 3 up? Now, if we find success with something, we're rolling that out 100, 200 different ways. Whereas back then it was like, all right, let's add 1. Let's add 1 more. Let's add 1 more. And then eventually we got to double digits. And a lot of the ways that we were selling was actually organic through fan pages, groups, stuff like that. And then we finally learned the Facebook ad side of things. So we probably got up to $1 million in our first sales without Facebook ads. So it was 100% profit.
And that was all profit on Teespring, right?
Yep. So
Amazing.
essentially on
Well done.
Teespring, for anybody that doesn't know, if you get $1 million in commission, that's essentially probably $2 million because they're taking out the cost of goods, the processing fees, customer service, all that stuff.
Which from a print on demand standpoint, owning it is fantastic. It's not for everybody. You know, everybody always asks us that question is, well, we need to move to Shopify or we need to do this. And for some people, absolutely. For others, this is a print on demand through platforms can be a great way, a monumental way to build. And sometimes people want to move off, sometimes they don't. And there's not a right way. That's one thing I will always say is that without Teespring, it wouldn't have got us to where we were at. It just wouldn't have, because we got to learn, oh, number one, wow, a print on demand service offers tons of value. Oh shit, when you're doing this all yourself, you can't do this all yourself. There's wins on both sides of that fence. But for anybody listening that's getting into POD, been in POD, struggling with POD, being successful in POD, think about those things. I'm going to leave this or I'm going to do that. Because there are times with hundreds of employees, I'm like, damn, I sure miss those days of, yeah, it was beautiful because you'd see $1 million in there and you'd know out of that $1 million, you got a designer and maybe you got the bar tab for when you went out to Vegas.
I'm so glad you said that, because part of the onboarding process with the Product Accelerator, once they fill out the intake form and give us a state of play within their business, the next stage is us creating a personalized 90-day strategy. And most often so far, we are focused on the Shine On platform for a number of reasons, and that is hyper focused. So we're focused on the two things that matter most in print on demand, and that's the phrase and design creation, which is 99% of what we do, and then the marketing. Because if you've got great products that connect on that emotional level that make people want to buy, the marketing becomes so much easier. And with Shine On right now, there's massive opportunity in Europe. I'm not sure if you ever started selling there, because I think, Cory, you were always saying that you were always focused more on the United States because you're printing cash. So why look elsewhere? But we went over to Germany early on after we had the winning campaigns with the ages and whatnot. And we had everything translated into German. So that it's sort of opening up again like that, with Shine On opening the Amsterdam fulfillment center. So it's like, holy shit, let's go. So I'm just glad that you're backing up that whole strategy, because Absolutely. With simplicity, like you said, comes hyper focus on the key needle movers. And so,
well, it almost goes back to the point of, like Keegan said, if we find one, we used to go to 2 and then 10 and now 100. But the first $1 million, or really the first $100,000, we're sitting there, we're like, we're going to make this into a business. We're going to try to build our own name. We're going to build our own things in these different niches, so to say. That first $100,000 is really the most complex, that first $1 million, because in reality, you're building your process. And without that process, you won't be able to take your eye off of stuff, because if that's not right, if it's broken $1 million, I can go ahead and tell you, as somebody that we've done $100 million in here, it gets really messy then. Because if it's not hyper-focused kind of at a smaller point, you're going to get in trouble. You're going to forget to register sales tax if you're on Shopify. If you're on print on demand, did you make sure that when you signed up, you put your EIN or your LLC's number versus your brother's social security number? Like, making small mistakes early, they can really bite you. So taking the time to kind of hyper-focus, whether it's Shine On or anything, we were with Teespring, of course. But learning that platform and making it like the back of your hand where you could train anyone, it almost makes you unstoppable, because you've been a subject matter expert in that field. And for anybody listening, if you have a bomb-ass jewelry campaign and it's crushing, and you're like, oh man, I need to go to the second campaign or the third campaign. If you can start to think horizontally, that's one thing that we really struggled at first, but got really good at probably after about a year or two. If you can think, how can I maximize this one item? There's most likely potentially price breaks if you go like parabolic, so to say. It becomes easier. A social proof and social context really heat up, because with an ad image with 50,000 likes on it, of course it's going to have more engagement and more distribution than something with 5, right? You know it works. How can you translate that to German, to Chinese, to wherever you're going to sell this one item? And I know that was kind of a tangent, but it got me excited to kind of hear that. Of going to Germany, it takes your wins. You're translating your wins. And no matter if you're on Shine On or running a $100 million business, we still do that to this day. Like as of yesterday, as of today, we still do that. It won here. Let's change it here. Let's not try to recreate the wheel, right? You know, things are different on Facebook in 21, of course, but in reality, the concepts still work. You don't stop loving your grandma. Well, I mean, you may, like some people may. And in that case, like it is what it is. But you just don't stop loving a dachshund dog, most likely. You don't stop loving a Bud Light unless maybe you have a drinking problem. That may be a different case.
Great example.
But think about it. The more you can think on that super simplistic kind of caveman level, it gets easy, right? I think just as people, we want to put all these obstacles and things in our own way. And I find myself doing it even today, like 37 years old, done this shit for 8-9 years. And you try to overcomplicate or you'll try to skip ahead. And you almost have to stop yourself and go, hey man, like you haven't squeezed the juice out of that orange yet. We get so used to quick squeeze, drop it, quick squeeze, drop it. And you're like, damn, if you could go back and redo it.
My two knee-jerk reactions are done is better than perfect and done is better than perfect.
Yeah, we talk about it every day. Every day. Get it up, try it, shoot the shot. If you're really wanting to see success, I remember one thing, Ty Holes, who actually brought Keegan into this world, and then I heard Keegan say it a bunch of times, and I find myself saying it. If you take one bat, and I don't know where people are listening from, but here in the States, baseball is a big thing. The Atlanta Braves just won the World Series. You swing a bat one time, you go 0 for 1, your batting average is 0, you're trash. You look at that player and you go, he's trash. You can't even swing, you can't even connect. But if you bat 3 times and you connect twice, you're batting 666, right? Which I believe would be the best batting average in the history of baseball over time. So just by taking a couple more shots at the same game, you're playing the same game. You're not deciding to go play cricket or football or something else, but just taking those 3 swings, all of a sudden you're looked at in a completely different light, right?
And those swings don't necessarily have to be, all right, I want 3 different jewelry designs. It could be, I'm going to go at this one jewelry design 3 different ways, 6 different ways. I'm going to target this region, that region, men, women, this age bracket, that age bracket. And there's immediately 8-10 different ways that you can go at that one specific ad campaign.
That's right. And in the jewelry juggernaut, one of the things I did was create this spreadsheet, right? So there's several elements of jewelry that make it sell. You've got the intro. The big one is the moneymaker. The moneymaker is what sells it. It's the thing that captures the attention, that draws them in, and they talk themselves into everything else. So long as you've got a good looking piece of jewelry, everything else is fine. So with this spreadsheet, you got the intro, the recipient, the moneymaker, the blend to mix it up. So if you found winning phrases out there you don't want to copy, and then you got the sign off, and you've got different columns, and through it all, I think it's permutation or permutations or something. There's so many different options that explode the output of the variables that you can create for designs to do that, to explore what's actually going to connect. So when you get the winning phrase, you start exploring around what part of this moneymaker actually made it sell. And the other thing with platforms, going back to that in the hyper focus, is instead of getting stuck into that Shopify store and being so boggled with everything that you've got to set up, like the customer service, the email flows, the SMS flows, all that kind of stuff. And you don't even know if you connect with that niche at that point. You've created this store, you've pigeonholed yourself, and then you're like, well, I can't sell anything. And it just may be that you don't connect with that niche because, again, we aren't selling what we want to sell. We are selling what people want to buy. And when we go to the platform and we've got the ability to test in other niches and actually explore and find which ones we connect with, get the runs on the board, $25,000 in revenue in one niche, and then you've got good confidence that when you launch that store, that you can then go on and continue to sell with confidence, which is a massive thing in this industry.
Yeah, I think people move on too quick. Like I said, I use the orange and there's a lot more squeeze left. What you're saying is once you found that phrase, and it's crazy to think about this, right? How could you image that phrase for everyone in the world, for every occupation in the world? And not even like this nurse loves X, right? And you're like, well, this dog mom loves X. You don't even have to go that way. If it's a general term, imagine just putting it on a model in scrubs. That could be your wife, your sister, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, whomever, or laying it next to a pair of work boots. And if you're targeting, Wolverine work boots or construction worker, they need to buy gifts for their wife as well. But you're stopping the scroll through paid media or through posting through kind of that second layer of psychology. And we've talked about this for 5 years now, and I'm finally really starting to see it, because you'll start to see these ads get more creative, and that's horizontal scale at its finest. Because in reality, if it's a hammer necklace that's just converting like crazy to everyone, suppose you're getting a purchase every $8. What if you took it to another level and said, you know what, I'm going to put it next to a German Shepherd, a Pit Bull, a Corgi, and then I'm going to target those things, and whatever that hammer audience was, we'll narrow it by that, right? Because if it worked on one, it's most likely going to work on it too. But this might make your cost per purchase driven down by maybe 10%, 15%, because that buyer, they have a Corgi. The Corgi has nothing to do with the necklace, but it's getting them to stop the scroll or kind of connect on a psychological level that maybe before you just used a white background, right? And if you're getting those at 12 and these at 6, well, your mindset would tell you what? Well, if their Corgi worked, I bet a cat would work. And if a cat would work, I bet a lizard would. Like, you'd be surprised at how wide you could take this and how many oranges are on the ground with just tons of juice left in them.
Man, like the nuggets that are being dropped by you right now it's sensational. Have you ever done an interview like this where you're actually diving deep into how to actually sell it? Because I can't remember ever seeing that, particularly with the story and all that kind of stuff.
We move in silence. I feel we're one of those, we talk to you and a couple handful of people, but we try to keep our nose down and really just grind. And I do feel like even since when you came and saw us last, it truly, I feel like I blink and it's 2021 and I'm like, how in the hell, number one, how do we have a weird COVID year that I don't even remember?
Yeah, Ronnie, when you came to visit, I think that was Cory's first supercar, and now there's like 8 different iterations since then.
Yeah, insane. I don't think I've got a photo of Cory and I. We were at the stadium and I took a photo of you and I, Keegan. But
when you come next, I got one. It's a family car that just happens to have 745 horsepower in it.
Insane. Yeah, I'm coming. I'm definitely on my way to that. So let's go. So when you teamed up, what was that transition like then? Where did your focus go and how did you grow from there?
Well, I think the good part, and Keegan probably can attest to this, we were entrepreneurs by heart, but we didn't really know it. We ran a flag football league like Keegan talked about, and we kind of joke and say it was big. It was one of the biggest in the country, if not the world. We would host 50 to 70 team tournaments. We'd host leagues that would have 16 to 30 teams in them. It wasn't as profitable as the print on demand world. And it took up a lot of time.
We did have a pretty strong passion for doing it. It was football, and it wasn't the run-of-the-mill YMCA league where there's 50-year-old dudes playing. We had a lot of highly competitive D1, a couple of guys that played in the NFL, and we did statistics and highlights, and really, I'm sure there's a parallel that you could draw between the two of these players wanted pictures of themselves. They wanted statistics. They wanted things that they could show off on social media that shows the world, hey, I still play flag football. I'm still competitive. I still got it, which the parallel would be, I'm a dog mom that loves drinking wine, slap it on a t-shirt, and let's sell 1 million of them.
Yeah. People want to show off what they do and what they're proud of and what their thing is. So in reality, that flag football world was our first iteration of what we do now and what we've done for the past 7-8 years is we want to tap into the people's ego and what they want, and we want to be their dealer, so to say. With them,
I'm sure there's a more optimistic way of saying that versus, hey, we want to be the drug dealer.
I didn't say drug dealer. You said drug dealer. I just said dealer. So it could be dealing anything. Ronnie, I don't know if we ever told you about this. We had an entrepreneurial venture that I still think would have been massive. It was tough to take off. We made a nautical decal that you could piss on, and you could put the other team that you didn't like, you could put it in a toilet or a urinal. And we ran into one big problem, and that was finding licensing for teams that would let us use their trademark logos to put
piss
in
on
the bathroom decals. But we worked well together on that, and we bitched at each other all the time. But at the end of the day, we got that thing launched before all this internet stuff. We had the internet, honestly, at the level when you found Teespring, it may have worked because we could have just used the gray area and said we didn't know any better.
So this would be the portion in the movie where you hear the mega fast forward and it jumps ahead like 6 or 7 years. But right before that, we were kind of getting to the point, Cory left his job. which you could probably give a little snapshot of telling Liz that, hey, I'm going to sell t-shirts with my brother versus 100K like director oil field or oil industry job, not oil field. That's like actual work.
Rig.
Yeah.
The movie, if it's ever made though, I'll be on the oil rig. They'll change that. So I wasn't like in a suit.
Who's going to play you?
Ellen DeGeneres is going to play Cory.
Bradley Cooper. Bradley Cooper.
Ryan Reynolds.
Or
I don't know
he's
about
available.
We're going to need to find a handsome fat guy to play me. By the time the movie comes out, I'm going to be ripped, so it wouldn't make sense. But
I feel like you'd be like a Seth Rogen sort of character.
Jason Marshall, maybe?
Tracy Lawrence.
I don't even, who is that?
That's the comedian.
I don't know. Anyway, we're talking fat.
Dave
Chappelle's got we look alike. So we're talking fast forward 5, 6, 7 years. And right before it really took off, I remember the conversation of saying, I never want to have more than 5 employees. And I think when we actually looked last pre-acquisition, we were right around 170, maybe 180. And every once in a while, when you look down, it's terrifying because we really scaled through COVID, where a lot of industries, especially in the United States, were literally shutting down. We were doubling and tripling. So we were absolutely annihilating it.
It was terrifying. I remember the first time we heard it last year. They were saying, we've got this pandemic and we don't really know what it is. And we think we might shut the economy down for 14 days. And 2 years later, we're finally almost done with this shit.
Apparently, when you tell people not to leave their houses, all they do is shop online. So it was difficult for us because we had to find people to ship them. And we were hiring people in droves. And that was part of the reason that the company that acquired us was looking to add more B2C. Direct to consumer, because they do a lot of B2B with business to business orders. And it almost felt like overnight, where it went from, all right, we have a strong team of 5 to 10 to somehow we had 50. And then the next thing we look down, there's 150. But the same principles that if you're strong at 5, you can be strong at 150, as long as you're disciplined and you kind of set yourself to the same rules and don't deviate. The more deviation and the more kind of fancy and pretty you try to get, and you don't hone in and focus on what got you there, that's where you see things derail. And we've been very successful in this game, but I can think of 50 names right now of guys who started crushing it, deviated, and now they work for somebody else or they're completely out of the industry.
Yep.
Absolutely. So in that consistency, I'm glad you brought that up. When you first started, Keegan, and when you first cottoned onto it, how soon did you form a structure that you stuck to?
It definitely took some time, because maybe the longest time, it feels like a long time, but it was probably 6 to 8 months where we would work out of my bonus room, and we would start working around 10, sometimes 9, sometimes 11. We'd work for an hour or two, make a bunch of money, and then go play FIFA for a couple hours. Corey'd leave by 2 or 3.
Can you tell me what a bonus room is? Because as an Aussie, it sounds like a gift a real estate agent would give you after a sale. What is
a kid room, like a playroom? There's a big TV, a big couch.
All right. So in Australia, that would be like a rumpus room or maybe a recreation.
A rec room. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So we made that into an office.
And then we hired somebody, and it was really weird. My wife wasn't totally cool with having some random person come in the house. She barely liked having Cory in the house as her brother-in-law. And eventually it was like, all right, let's go get an office. And when I say it feels like yesterday, it literally feels like yesterday that we were walking in that 700. It was actually the building that you came and visited us at. But by the time that you were there, that was our second iteration of the office, because I want to say we had taken one side and then we expanded into the secondary side. So we were there for probably 6 months at that time. So you got to see where we were then. And that was maybe 1,000 square feet. And now, I mean, our main facility is like 30,000 square feet. Our parent company that acquired us, they're like 680,000 square feet down in Miami. And it's the craziest operation you've ever seen in your life.
You know what's weird though, Ronnie? You asked like how structured, how long it took us to build that. And I was just thinking as Keegan said that, like, I draw SOPs and like different charts of how we should do things, and the shit still sometimes doesn't work. But this is year 8, like 8 years of formalized business. And I still am working on it today, but it's iterations on the original.
It's
The original,
dynamic. Exactly. You've got the foundation.
find something people want, find a reason why they want it, find a way to get it to them, and find a way to get them a good product. If you can literally do those things, like,
And for people entering coaching or pod hacker or what you have going on, Ronnie, probably the biggest thing would be, let's say somebody is working 9 to 5 already for somebody else. They don't have a trove of cash that they're sitting on where they can quit the job and go do as they please. But for the people like that, wake up earlier. If you got to work 9 to 5, wake up at 7, wake up at 6. Oh, let's say your kids wake up at 6, wake up at 5. Then you have a full hour to do whatever you need to do.
I'm pretty sure you said it before, right? It's discipline. What do you want? What do you want more, this or a job? And guys, when I was over there, sorry to cut you off because I want you to continue on that. Like, you were literally just starting to explore doing your own fulfillment. Like, you had some racks there, and you had the printing press. It's amazing. Like, I love seeing these stories, particularly of mates who have had a goal and they go through all the highs and lows and just get up and just they know that something's there. I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it. Like, but I fucking love it. I've always been like cheering you on, and that's why, Keegan, when you said no screenshots, I'm like, yes. And you know, and it's always inspired me, because I'm like, if he's doing that, I can do that. And that's what I love about you two. You're having this chat.
Everything is the baseball analogy. Cory said, if you go to bat one time, you're going to strike out. Well, for us, you brought up fulfillment. So we started exploring our own fulfillment, printing our own t-shirts. We bought one piece of shit machine. We spent way too much money on it. It didn't work. We could have just gave up at that point. Instead, what we did, because we're degenerates, we went out and bought one 5 times the cost of that one. And it was supposedly the Rolls Royce of the printing industry. It wasn't, but it was at least better than the first piece of shit we got. So then at that point, this was where we learned probably our biggest lesson in, you have to have your ducks in a row, especially once you find success. It's almost like the second you learn how to sell, the second thing after that you need to learn is how to get the shit to customers on time, which it helps with print on demand, that most of those companies are handling it through apps and stuff.
Makes you appreciate it.
Yeah. So for us, we bought those machines and we had sold, I mean, we could actually produce about 200 shirts a day if we kept them moving for 3 shifts, 1 printer at 2 machines. And we had a campaign go viral. And when I say viral, it meant like we woke up to $40,000 in sales. We were still selling on Teespring. So at this point, we had success, but on Shopify, we had never had something go nuts. This went nuts. We wake up at like 9:30.
Remember what the design was? I'm sure you did, because you were sick of looking at it.
Yeah. So it was during the 2016 election. It was Trump related. So we, of course, I'll sell salt to a slug. I don't give a shit. I'll sell Republican, Democrat, don't care. We actually had designs for both candidates. And it just so happened when he won, he won Ohio in like 3 a.m. in the morning. And I had a phone alarm set up at 8 to go into the office. I woke up at 9:30. My phone had died from the Shopify notifications.
It's the stupidest shit ever.
And we get into the office, and by that time, it's like $70,000 in sales. It's stupid.
And we can produce roughly 200 a day.
So immediately, if we print every hour, I think it would have taken us 3 months to actually produce the orders from the first week. So immediately, that's where our thinking cap goes on. We go down the street. We start calling every single screen printing company in the area.
Where's that piece of shit printer we just threw out?
Yeah. So our printers could only do so much because they were direct to garment DTG. So we found a local screen printer and he wound up doing a phenomenal job. We literally bought him out of his lease to move in with us at our next iteration of the office, which was like 16,000 square feet. We bought him out of his office, and that was about 5 years ago. We've been doing business with the guy ever since, and yeah, it's been phenomenal. It's helped us get our costs down. It's helped us also isolate. We eventually sold off the DTG business and got completely out of fulfillment because we had vendors that understood, all right, these guys are going to run Facebook ads. I have to give them a better cost. I would rather make the smaller part of a watermelon than the bigger part of a grape. So they understood the philosophy that we had to have good margins on the Facebook side to make us not want to fulfill our own stuff, because then he would be out that business. So it really was nice having a really strong partner in Nick. Nick, if he ever listens to this, I'll give him props there. But we've also seen his business grow from 2 employees in the back of a shop that they were renting
Vape
to
shop.
150.
Vape shop.
Yep.
So what's the company that he's got now?
Edge Printed Products.
And we're actually in the works right now to potentially even talk acquisition with him too. So I think that's the true crazy. Nothing's finalized, but this guy took a shot on us, right? He took a chance, and he didn't have to take that business. I mean, he could have had a bunch of other business, and it was him and his brother, which is even cooler. And they literally worked 24 hours a day to get those shirts out. And now we're talking, I mean, total, we've probably done $150 million, $200 million in business together. And literally, had he went to lunch that day, this is the wild part, or the butterfly part, or he didn't accept that phone call, really all of this is different. Because what happens if that next screen printer we meet can't do it? And we're on meeting 4 and then we get bummed. You know, it truly is like a holy shit, this is.
But dude, it's situational luck, right? You've set yourself up. Like, if you hadn't have done the doing of what you were doing, there's no way that phone call was ever going to be made for that luck to show up and fall into your lap. And that's the thing, like, we've got right now, and this is what I've said to everyone, the only difference between those who are successful in this industry and those who are unsuccessful is the successfuls put up with a lot of more failure than everybody else. And I wish I had a fucking nailed that. But in that, with this, like, when you've got those foundations and the fundamentals in place, you can do everything, sticking to it, and eventually know that luck, the situational luck that you're putting into it, pulling on the energy from that mastermind group that I was telling you about earlier. Like, it's all celebrating wins, see other people's revenues. This, what you're sharing right now, is pure gold. Like, I am buzzing right now, and I absolutely love it. All that people need now, the students, once they've got those foundations in place, is luck. And the only way you get that luck is by doing the doing.
You're absolutely right, man. Because it truly is. Sometimes you got to look at luck in a weird way, right? Because you put yourself in the situation. You did something, spit it into the universe, that it got you where you're at, that you get that opportunity, right? But it's funny. I printed this shit out in 2014.
Can't see it.
Did you buy that at Home Goods?
No, because look at how gross the paper is, and there's still like gross shit underneath it. So I printed this out, and I had it in our garage where we fulfilled shirts the very first time we did anything outside print on demand. Keegan, you remember it was stapled in the barn, and the paper was folded over. And it's wild because when I moved from that house to move into my now forever home, I pulled it out.
We call it the Megaplex. It's literally like a neighborhood.
It's
egregious.
It was one of the last things I pulled off, and I was like, holy shit, that was cool. That was one of those crazy, you don't really think about it until you do it moments. And you're like,
Ronnie, to piggyback off of that, you mentioned you got to be lucky, you know, the situational luck, but also you have to have situational perseverance as well.
Exactly. Great.
So he mentioned his barn. There was a time where if you want to fulfill your own shit, guess what that means? You got to fulfill your own shit. When it's Christmas and you had a bunch of orders come in and you got to ship them.
It's Christmas Day, right?
Literally Christmas Day, like in the evening, the kids were asleep in the house. My wife, Sarah, his wife, Liz, we literally packaged a couple hundred orders out of his barn that barely had heat. And we had already made it at this point. Like we were successful. We had a strong brand. We were crushing it on Teespring. But as we were delving into Shopify and having our legit own brand with our own products that we were printing, like we had to fulfill them. It was going to be us because nobody else was going to do it. But on the topic that you had mentioned, I would definitely say the biggest thing is, because we can talk about all of our wins, but those are just the tip of the iceberg.
I was going to ask you about the struggle.
Yeah. So below the surface, you have the failures, and there's tons of them. Failures in hiring, failures in trusting your friends and family and have them screw you over, failure in vendors screwing up, distributors, failure in ad buyers, failure in ourselves just screwing things up and messing it up, because we've had a couple of those, more so from Cory, less from me if I had to count. But the biggest thing is just failing fast. And especially when you get into ad buying, that's probably the biggest thing. If you're going to put up 100 ad sets, and let's say 50 of them aren't going to work out, 50 of them are, by the baseball analogy, you're batting 500. You're in the Hall of Fame if you can get 50% to work. So the analogy works as you increase the number of campaigns, designs, and whatnot. But if you sit there and dwell on, oh man, these 50 that I turned off, you want to evaluate them quickly, find out what they are, and do less of that. Look at the 50 that did well and do more of that. So doing more of what works, doing less of what doesn't work. It can be applied to hiring. It can be applied to ad campaigns, designs, graphic designs, everything.
Well, everyone in here, or everyone listening, or everyone that will ever listen to this in the next however many years, and shit, maybe it's in the metaverse one day, which I didn't even know what that was like a week ago. If you are doing this print on demand thing right now, you are one design away, always, from literally generational wealth opportunity. Isn't that crazy to think that we are literally we're all one idea away? You know, it may be 1 + 1 + 1, but it's coming. It will be there eventually.
Compounding consistency.
You know, if you look at that and go, well, fuck, man, I just had 4 in a row and all 4 0 0 0 0, and you say I quit. It's that stupid meme that you always see with the diamond, where the diamond mine is right here and the guy's hacking and he's like moping away and he's this close. Think about that. Imagine that Bitcoin, right? I love the tweet that I saw where some guy goes, look at these idiots. I'm so glad I sold at $3. And someone went back and tweeted to him last year and said, I hope this guy's not dead. And he replied, I am, but only on the inside. But think about that, right? You're that close and you give up then and you walk away then.
Yeah.
Consistency
so
will
true.
allow you to win eventually. We went through probably 2, call them a bear market of Facebook. We went through 2 of those cycles. iOS now threw us for a little bit of a loop. We found ways out of it.
The old Pixel to the new Pixel.
Old Pixel to the new Pixel. Had 3 months of, dude, it was just a giant. And then we were like,
That's 2017, right?
Yep.
Yep.
And it was in the fall of 2017. And we didn't prepare.
Dude, like I just launched a store and it was fucking exploding. Like it was 3 weeks in and it done 500,000. I'm like, here we go. And then they did that Pixel,
Rug pull.
fell off a cliff. I was like, what the?
You and everyone else in the world.
Dude,
you know what's really frustrating is what Cory mentioned earlier, that grandma that has a dachshund and drinks wine. You put a design up for her. She doesn't stop buying t-shirts like that. She doesn't stop not liking that. The problem is, I think Facebook ads are as easy as they were 5 years ago, the day I started, 2 days ago. It's all the same. The big problem is tracking and how to track it. Obviously, iOS throws it for a loop. You have to do the best with the data that you're given, but also looking at the overview of the money in versus money out, looking at your percentages, ad spend percentages, all of those different kind of levers that you can pull.
And tracking everything.
Yeah, but the basic principles that we were doing 5 years ago still apply today.
You know what's wild is
people want to buy stuff, right? Like they literally want to buy what we're creating. We just have to find what that is.
More than ever. That's the crazy part. Is
absolutely.
People say that, well, Facebook ads or TikTok ads or any of these are dead, right? No, they're not. They're just not buying your shit. They're buying somebody else's shit. How do you take that market space away, be more creative, have better products?
More consistent.
There you go. It truly is the name of the game. And if you notice the people, Ronnie, you're around, we're around, there's not many of us anymore. Isn't that crazy? Like, I use the term graduating class, right? that 2015-16 graduating class of the Teespring world, there's only a handful of us left. And if I could say the one thing that I will about us, yourself included, Eric with Shine On, everyone has been consistent and they focused on e-commerce. So they focused on this and they've gotten really good at it and they're still here, right? We all might do a couple other things, but for the most part, we kind of still talk and we play in the same world versus trying to play in 50 other worlds where you're going to be half-ass in all of them. Well, I'd rather be really good at this one. So it's funny how consistency, it is just day in and day out. It almost fixes the flaw when you do make a mistake because you get more opportunity at that point. And especially with jewelry, you got a good product. You know, people like t-shirts, eventually it gets cold. Maybe they go to hoodies. Jewelry, people wear that shit all year.
My biggest thing on how we've adapted to changes is if you keep trying to do the same shit and eventually it's not working, that's the definition of insanity. You're doing the same thing over and over and over again, expecting different results. So you have to do things that are different enough to propel you forward that give you the results that you want. So let's say you launch 10 different campaigns and only one of them gets a sale. Well, go at more of what got the sale, do less of the 9 that didn't. There's some sort of element that is why that one got a sale. So as you kind of combine that with community. Now, with how Facebook ads were 4 or 5 years ago, it was a lot easier because obviously the data wasn't manipulated and you were able to actually see what was coming back from Facebook through the cookies and all that stuff. So your ads manager was actually accurate. One thing to combat that, you're never going to get that one-to-one ad tracking like we used to have. But if you have a dope ass community and a brand, an actual brand, let's say you don't have a ton of sales, you can always go in, let's say cycling, for instance. If you're selling a cycling shirt or a cycling piece of jewelry, you can go in cycling enthusiast Facebook groups, build up a name for yourself, build up some rapport, befriend other people in the group, befriend the admins, the mods, and start your own community and start inviting them into a group, post memes in there, provide value, share something from your page into those groups, build up a community, and then eventually they'll do a lot of the selling, buying, promotion, advertising for you, because whenever they post, hey, I just bought this cycling necklace in the group, someone is going to say, where'd you get that? Let me see the link. And then they like it, and then it propels that post into other people's news feeds. So probably over the last 2 years, a big focus of ours has been community and growing our brands through Facebook groups, because they do a lot of the work for you. They're also providing a shitload of UGC, user-generated content, for you to use as fan photos, for ads, for emails, for texts, for everything.
And Facebook actually just came out, I want to say it was today or yesterday, and said that there's going to be a new sales function inside of groups allowed. So there was always the theory of selling in your group. Yeah, you can post a link, but actually running live sales inside your group, running it like a shop, and then having the ability to utilize that group for your targeting.
And that eliminates the excuse of, I don't have the ad spend or the money to put behind these campaigns, because everything I just said, completely free.
Keegan and I work with a TikTok influencer who was a teacher. So this teacher made $25,000 a year, maybe if he was lucky. When we worked with him, when he came to North Carolina, and that's kind of the other side of our business, is working with people off TikTok and building them merch programs, right?
Your TikTok is legendary. But I love it.
Well, this is not even ours, our brand. This is a true, like, he's got 5 million followers.
Yeah.
When he came in, it was funny. He made a really goofy joke and he sat down and he goes, hey guys, I'm sorry, that was a really offhand joke. I'm still nervous in these situations. And I'm going, holy shit, dude, this is so cool. You're a normal dude, just like me and Keegan. Well, Keegan's not very normal, but you're normal, kind of like me. And now you're someone, right? So I asked him, I'm like, what made you want to do this? And he was like, I enjoy making this content because it's shit that I think's fun. We were helping him monetize his audience, but he's a normal dude. He decided he wanted to make funny videos. That's fun to him.
But at the foundation of what Cory's saying, he had an audience, he had a community. So it's not like he needed to go out and spend 30 grand a day or $300 a day or $50 a day in ads.
He just
needed a store. He needed to monetize. And the way you monetize your community, you put together a store or a brand for them to shop. And then it's very easy to sell through influence.
Who's that TikToker? I'm just getting some questions for him.
Mr. Hamilton.
And what's he focused on?
He was a dance teacher dance dude. That's the easy way to put it.
Is that in his bio? Teacher dance dude?
I'm not.
That's one of, hundreds of influencers that we've worked with, and we worked with him for a little bit of time, and then he kind of cycled out because merch wasn't necessarily his calling, or he found ways to monetize outside of that.
Do you have them competing against each other? So like in the back end, like you got 100 different influencers. Do you put prizes up for them for whoever's driving the most sales or stuff like that?
No, because one thing that we like to do on the agency side is we want to provide an experience where they don't even know that we have other clients, because they should feel that they're getting such a lion's share of the attention that we're actually putting it out there and having them as the biggest foot forward. Where I know back in the day on Teespring, they would publicize, hey, here's your 15, 20 people in your portal. Who's doing the best? Kind of rile them up, incentivize, see who wants to be number one.
Squid Games, kind of.
Yeah, and honestly, it's interesting you said that, because we were kind of in Ty Holz's line. And my goal was to make him as much money as possible because I wanted to be number one. And that's probably just because I'm oddly competitive, but damn sure I was number one.
I'm guessing probably. Ask Cory. Cory, who's number one?
When we left, we were. And we didn't leave Teespring. We graduated and the business just evolved to the point where...
Oh, no, not just Teespring. I'm talking about the POD world in general. As a D2C, is there a bigger business? But I don't think so. It's especially around what we do.
From the t-shirt bomb world on the overall, I don't think there is. But, from people that dabbled within Teespring, there's tons of other people that are absolutely still crushing it that just weren't kind of in the forefront. But we also kind of have a two-pronged approach where that makes it almost a little, extra unfair for us to claim that we're near the top or the best, because we had our own brand.
Let me do it. I'm the best. As far as I'm concerned, we're having this conversation. You guys are the best. So thank you. But continue with your explanation.
So it almost is technically a little unfair that we would compare ourselves against other people that are starting their own brands, because we had built our brand to such an incredible height that we had people coming to our brand saying, we love your email marketing. Who's your agency? And we were like, we don't have an agency. It's us. And they said, let us commission you, or let us pay you. Let us get you on a monthly retainer. And one of our first clients was actually a brand that Mark Cuban owned 30 or 40% of. And that was one of our first dips into the client world. We absolutely annihilated it for them. I think they went from somewhere on the e-commerce side, somewhere between 500,000-600,000, elevated it all the way to, I want to say like 9-10 million or something crazy. And eventually they internalized it. So that was our first kind of toe in the water of, oh shit, we can do this for big brands. Well, one thing about big brands is big brands are smart. They're going to want to internalize things. Even if they're paying an agency an assload amount of money and they're reaping the rewards from that, there's still going to be, well, if we don't pay them this and we get a percentage of what they're pushing, we're still in a better position. And that's the stupid mentality that has ultimately cost a lot of those past relationships the benefits of what we've learned over time. But we've found a lot more success, a lot more longevity, better relationships when you're not working with an entire marketing team that's doing similar things to you, because they're almost thinking, man, I got to do a good enough job that these guys don't get me fired. We need them gone. We've found a ton of success in the world on the client and agency side, working with celebrities, working with athletes, working with influencers that don't necessarily have major marketing teams, because those guys, they see us as coming for their heads.
Can you name drop?
Yep.
We've been guests of the president. We worked with Mike Tyson. We were on stage at Martin Garrix multiple times. We worked with some of the biggest political influencers in the world.
We did some Britney Spears, Backstreet Boys type stuff when we helped Teespring run their influencer campaigns. We almost got to work with Justin Bieber. Didn't come into fruition.
Eric Brunson, that's a pretty cool one. UFC middleweight contender. Just picked him up this week. We were in the gym with him. He's going to hopefully be contending for the middleweight championship come February or March after he wins in January. So we were with him 2 days ago. Holly Holm, we've got a meeting with. That's pretty crazy.
Do you get nervous going into those meetings about meeting these people?
After Mike Tyson, you never get everything else or everyone else after Mike Tyson. Is, well, there's no way in hell I'm going to be less nervous than when we met Mike Tyson. So worst case scenario, we're going to be fine.
So I got a quick story. So we go to meet Mike through a connection. We're fully understanding that we're potentially going to do a store with Mike Tyson's name on it. But in reality, I'm like, we fly down to Jacksonville right when COVID started, number one. So I'm like kind of scared. I don't want to die. This is going to suck if I get whatever this COVID thing is. And I'm literally going down to Florida to meet somebody. I don't know who they are. So I'm like, shit, we may get kidnapped. But we go down there, you walk in the hotel, and it was right when that viral video in 2020 was going around with Tyson hitting the bag again. It was everywhere. And you're like, oh my God, is this guy coming back? And I'm like, you know what? We might not meet him, but we'll meet his manager. And holy shit, which means one day we will meet him. But we went down there on one day whim, right? To potentially meet Tyson.
For a 20-minute meeting.
We get a message, meet us in room 514. It's from our connection, our broker, right? Our middleman that's making the connection with us and Tyson's manager. So we get in the elevator to go to our room, drop our stuff off. Keegan's like, hey, man, I'm going to change real quick because we just got off the jet. And I'm like, hey, I'm going to go meet Todd. And he's like, all right, cool. I'll meet you up in Todd's room. So we go up there and I get a message and it's, hey, room change, go to this room. So it was like floor 1815 or something. I was like, damn, it's way at the top. Did not even think. I'm just like, wow, he's got a dope room. The guy that's putting the connection together is a wealthy guy. And so we go up there and I go out the elevator and it's myself, my creative director. Keegan's not with us. He's going to meet us in this 1815, right? Or whatever this room was. And I turn the corner and Ronnie, no lie, it's like in a little corridor. It's a suite. Tyson walks out the door and comes this close to my face. And he's like, oh, excuse me. And I'm like, it's the first time in my life I've been starstruck I thought I may have a chance to run into him, like not physically, but like maybe meet him for a minute, not physically run into him. I was terrified because I was like, what do you say right now?
That was our first like penthouse suite meeting. Normally it's on the first floor or in the, conference rooms that they have.
This is like in his penthouse.
Yeah. So I was honestly taking my time, dropping my shit off in my room because I thought, all right, we're just going to Todd's room and then we'll head back downstairs. I don't need to game plan. I'll be completely fine. So then I walk in 3 or 4 minutes late. And when I walk in and there's an entire just room of suits. It was like the investors and some of his entourage and team. And it was an intimidating setup for sure, because we didn't necessarily know that we were going to be presenting or, speaking to such a, large room of people.
We were game planning an e-commerce store. We were pitching an e-commerce store to his team, his entire team of investors. Of course, Mike has, had not the best relationships with people doing him right in the past. So he's got a team of advisors, the Tyson Ranch people with cannabis company, and then us e-commerce guys just rolling in the room. And he goes, hey, sit down next to me. And I'm like, yes, sir, Mr. Tyson. He's like, call me Mike. I'm like, oh, yes, sir, Mike. And we ended up hanging out with Mike for a couple of days and have done a lot of business with him. And he's got some crazy stuff coming up. And it definitely is one of those experiences that I look back and I'm like, this is pretty crazy. We did the right thing along the way. We helped when we could. We would take on projects when we couldn't, and we'd do them anyway. And we just figure a way to get them done. But we did the right thing for a lot of people and helped a lot of people along the way, so that like randomly, occasionally, people will say, hey, man, I got a cool opportunity. You want to take this opportunity? And I'm like, absolutely. And I got to hang out and have dinner and drinks and breakfast with Mike Tyson. Like casually, not even talking business. After we talked business, he said, you guys stay. And we did.
Dude, that's so
wow.
Epic.
It's really a karma play. Like as long as you're not a bad person, and you make connections in this world, it's really not that hard to not be a shitty person. As long as you can do that, and then you combine that with the fundamentals of consistency and discipline, that's the recipe for success. Don't be a shitty person and be disciplined.
Yeah. And you know what? That's like you guys sitting with Mike. I don't know about you, but Mike was in my heyday, right? And the same with you. When you're growing up in the 90s, where we didn't have cable TV, but it was entertainment to watch these boxing fights. And holy shit, like Mike Tyson was at the top of his game and he was an idol. So for you to go like through your business journey and again, sticking to your consistency and your fundamentals and being not a shitty person, you've done the right steps to meet one of the biggest influencers in the world, right? That's just incredible. No wonder you were nervous. I would have been, quietly beating myself.
It honestly, it was awesome because we were so nervous, but then every meeting out after that, I've not been 1% nervous because you'll never be able to rack my nerves like that day.
Well, it's funny.
Everything else is just easy peasy.
I sent Keegan a message. That message I sent you probably 30 minutes before we got on here. I just scrolling on Twitter. I'm a big Twitter guy. And I see Strauss Zelnick. So Strauss Zelnick is the CEO of Take-Two Interactive. They've created titles. Take-Two Interactive as Rockstar Games, which created Grand Theft Auto. I mean, GTA 5, I think, is the number one game of all time, right? And it was a tweet saying Strauss Zelnick announces that they already have the biggest metaverse plan of anyone, including Microsoft and Xbox, because they've already got the video game. And it really hit me. Strauss Zelnick flew out to North Carolina to meet with Keegan and I to market his book. And I totally forgotten about that time. And I love telling the Tyson story. But from a business perspective, that is a billionaire that flew out to Clayton, North Carolina.
To see you guys, yeah.
And I never tell that story.
And actually, the only reason we were asked to help market his book was because we did one of those good human things. We had a buddy that he had a client that was selling a book and he really didn't know how to market it, what to do, how to use Facebook ads. But his guy was very dependent or very insistent upon having Facebook ads. So we ran Facebook ads for this book. It really didn't do that great, but it sold out all of his limited stock inventory. And he said, hey guys, I really appreciate that. When I have something cool come up, I'm putting your name in the Rolodex. And I think 2 years later,
what was the book?
Happens. Hell, I don't even remember the first round.
Ricky Van Veen, who's actually the founder of Vimeo and College Humor, was the connection, number one. And we did a good job by him. And he recommended us to his buddy. When he said my friend, I fully assumed it might be like the Josh guy from the t-shirt company in New York City, like one of his buddies. And no, the email comes, it's from Strauss Zelnick. And if you guys want to look up Strauss Zelnick, he's still the CEO of Take-Two Interactive. And he flew on a private jet to meet us in Clayton, North Carolina to talk game plan, and we executed. We did our job and we didn't get paid. We didn't want to get paid on that. The fact that I have that email contact, if I ever need it, still goes down as one of the most unique opportunities of doing the right thing. And he honestly, like the last 45 minutes before we got in his flight, he said, what kind of questions do you have for me? And I just peppered him with, if you could do it again, if you could change one thing, if you could think of one area to focus on, and just hearing the answers. And they weren't anything like I expected. It was much higher level thought. And in the end, he said, whatever you do, try to always take yourself out and ask the question, will it still run and function the same? And that was like one of the big key takeaways for me is
SOPs.
Shit. If you don't build it, you really haven't built anything. You've taught people how to do jobs. But if you step away and it moves, that's pretty badass. And for us, we sold a brand in 2016 before we sold this last company. I just got an email from them today telling me about their Christmas sale. And it's every once in a while, it's like, wow, that's cool, man. Like seeing the brand, seeing the brainchild that we were fulfilling out of that damn garage, it's still going. And we have zero to do with it. And I say zero, I mean nothing. Like we haven't had anything to do with it, so we sold it. And that's pretty neat to kind of just, I don't remember how we got there, but it's a cool story to be able to tell of something I picked from someone else. Because we all learn, right?
And honestly, one unique thing that I would share is like another golden nugget is influencers They're literally an email away. Sometimes they have their email in their bio that's like whatever business@gmail.com. But they're probably getting hundreds of emails, tons of emails if they're a big one. So you have to stand out somewhat. One little surefire way that I've done it is in the subject line, I put RE dot slash, so it looks like a reply email. And we get replies all the time for people that we reach out to. And that's just one little
I do the
hack.
same thing.
What's interesting from that is tons of opportunities have come just by asking, by emailing. And it's almost like, think back to middle school, like the hottest girl at the dance. And nobody's dancing with her because everyone's almost too scared to go ask her to dance. Well, in reality, nobody's asking her. You would be surprised how much that happens with really influential celebrities, influencers, brands, athletes, that people just don't reach out because they think that it's, too far out of their bounds or they're not going to be able to get a reply. But also it comes back to that baseball theory. If you send one message and they don't reply, you're 0 for 1. If you send 50 and you get 5 replies and one of them winds up being a mega connection, you don't know if that's the connection that's 2 or 3 people away from Mike Tyson or somebody that you deem closer, like a huge rock band or another big politician or celebrity. Everyone's always connected to somebody. And if you do enough good deeds out there, you do enough good projects, or there's also an aspect in the world of influencers and celebrities, it's pay to play. So how much can I pay for you to promote this? And you do 10 of those. Well, now you have 10 connections to that manager, to that influencer, to that celebrity. For whenever you want to pitch something, it's a lot easier to pitch to somebody that you've paid already and you have some rapport with.
Mm-hmm.
And
it comes back down. The other thing with that, to make sure those contacts stay good contacts, is to, no matter how difficult it is, to remain honest throughout the conversation. If you screw up or you did something wrong, own it. It's complete ownership, because it's through that authenticity and owning those mistakes, because they happen. Like, we fuck up all the time, right? Like,
daily.
But if you're willing to put yourself on the line and show that vulnerability, that's how those connections stay so strong.
Yeah, and also you don't have to go after the lead singer of Aerosmith. You don't have to go after Mike Tyson or Brett Favre, like mega celebrities. I had mentioned earlier in this that cycling shirt. There's cycling influencers. There's cycling athletes on TikTok that maybe have 20,000 followers, 50,000 followers. That's worth reaching out to and saying, hey, how much would it take for a post? How much would it take for you to promote this? If I sent you a free one, would you do a video review on it? And then they post it to their page. And then you now have UGC you can use for ads, or that you can use for your own social branding, slap it on your website, give you some validation. There's tons of, like, when I say a literal sea of people to work with that are just a message or email away.
So influencers are great, but when we're testing products and we're doing that first initial trying to figure out what niche we actually connect with, you can't just start creating designs from ground zero, no experience in this industry.
Yep.
Create something that you want to sell, not what somebody wants to buy, and expect to go to an influencer, get them to promote it, and then expect sales. It's just not going to happen. So you need to start right at that ground zero, find the niches you connect with. And once you've got those runs on the board and you've got the Shopify store, because you know that you can sell into that niche, and you've got those winning campaigns, that's when you grab those winners and then go to the influencers, when you've got something of high value and you know is going to sell when they put it in front of their people.
Exactly.
Absolutely. What Keegan's saying is, like, just shooting the shot, taking the opportunity. You want to get on the blog, email them. Like, we emailed Shawn Johnson, the U.S. gold medal winning gymnast, randomly, and she emailed me back. And I'm like, oh, like, she doesn't know who we are.
But you did send the photo of you and Mike Tyson, though?
No, I was just like, hey, this is a brand I work with. We'd love to get you in some stuff. She was like, oh my God, that's so cool. And I'm like, oh shit, that's pretty wild.
Honestly, every once in a while, I'll just kind of toss one out there. Here recently, there's a guy that he's just been skyrocketing on TikTok, like a couple million. Have you seen him, Ronnie? He's the guy, he'll interrupt somebody and then tell just a random fact, like a funny, did you know one? Anyway, he went from a couple 100,000 followers to 3 million followers. I tossed the shot out there for a merchandising opportunity, and I've been emailing back and forth. So sometimes it's a lot. It's almost like I used to tell myself, they're never going to reply. It's a sea of emails. But it took me 30 seconds to type something up and hit send. So
if you don't do it, someone else will.
This is where I get a bit woo-woo, right? This is like, I'm an ex-carpenter. I'm a carpenter by trade that loves his meditation. And I believe in that, like the energy, we're a world away, but I clearly have an energy with you guys that you can just talk and it's no problem. Like, and it's fun. And it's the same sort of energy when you're working at this. If you're treating your customers with bad energy, how do you expect that you're going to find those viral campaigns? But you do it with positive intent and your mindset, and you've got that abundant thinking, and you really want to see other people do well.
I like what you said in terms of we can talk and talk. If I could pass on one thing to anybody working with you, the program, this industry in general, is let's say if you like yoga or meditation, why would your first design be about hockey or motorcycles? It really helps to actually start with something you're passionate about. So for us, we really got our start with sports
Southern girls
and football designs.
We made our way there.
Yeah, we eventually went to southern like country stuff whenever we stopped selling sports. But we were such big sports fans that it was easier to connect to that versus like us trying to sell yoga shirts. However, if someone really knows about yoga or they really know about tennis, whatever their hobby is, knitting or crochet, try to sell something that you would buy. Try to communicate in your ads with ad copy in a way you would want to be communicated with. It's almost like find a way to sell to someone that's similar to you. If you can sell to someone like yourself, it's an easy way to rack up sales.
You know what's wild is Keegan was talking about the cycling thing, and immediately like my mind went back into Teespring mode is, wow, ad copy with we think your chain fell off and things like that, silly stuff like that. But even going a step deeper
Do high-end cycles have chains though?
I'm sure they do.
I don't think they do.
How do they drum the back wheel?
I don't know. I'm not a cyclist.
You're just going to sit there spinning if you don't have a chain.
Look at that, Ronnie. Like getting into the nitty gritty, right? Whether it's through ad copy, through imaging, or if you're a cyclist, right, and you just put bicycle in your targeting, well, guess what? You're also going to get me because I've searched the term bicycle. Sure. But if you go in and think about the brands, the magazines, the potential cyclists, they're professionals, the courses they're riding, where they're riding, the tire company that only makes tires for cycling bikes, the equipment that they're wearing, that's how you kind of take it to that next level. You know what I mean?
I'd love to get your thoughts on this because I've started just completely simplifying ads. So when you're advertising and if you've got duplicates of the same audience, my hunch is that the ad's being served to a different subsection of that same audience. So therefore, increasing the variability of putting more interest in there just confuses you from what you should be focused on when you're starting. Again, this is my hunch. So when you're focused on creating phrases that actually buy, the marketing gets so much easier. So if we keep it simple and consistent, then we can move forward in that thinking. I'd love to get insight on that.
Yeah, it's definitely the KISS method. Keep it simple, stupid, or keep it stupid, simple. If you're selling tennis or cycling, you want to be targeting tennis and cycling. You want to be targeting Venus and Serena Williams, like the easy ones. Cory had mentioned getting super nitty gritty. Back in the Teespring day, we used to call those a certain type of audience. Do you remember like a laser focused, or there was a name for them for the smaller audiences that were really hyper focused? What was the name for those?
I don't know. We had a really cool acronym probably. And
yeah, instead of putting one ad set with just one of those audiences in it, when it's the hyper focused ones, when it's like 100,000 people, 400,000 people, I like grouping 10 or 15 of those all into one. So then there still is a large, broad ability for it to scale out.
So Cory, I was just saying to Keegan then that my hunch is that an ad set with a targeting, even if it's duplicated, when it gets served, it'll get served to a different subsection of that same audience. My approach to this is just to keep them all the same. So the ad setup is incredibly simple. So what we're focused on is creating that phrase that connects first and foremost, because you're just increasing variability by going deep into the weeds with your targeting before you know that the product
If it
sells.
works, for sure, absolutely.
That's right.
It also feels nowadays that adding in a different creative at the same audience also helps hit a different sector of people that respond to the image.
Yeah, because people respond differently to different advertising, right?
Absolutely.
Scarcity, price.
Well, and Instagram, Facebook, there's different shoppers nowadays. Like 6 years ago, people were pretty basic with how they used imaging. Nowadays, if you're going horizontal on a design that just crushes, scale that thing out into Instagram Reel. That's a different creative than Instagram Stories. When you want to scale something, there is no excuse anymore for why. If it sells 100, it doesn't sell 10,000. If it's a broad niche, right? Because there's so many ways to hit so many different people. And now if you're talking shine-ons all over the world and now literally of the globe, I mean, the opportunities are, it's a fertile myrtle is what you should look at it as, because everybody should be able to scale these things. So I get excited when we talk about that.
Holy turtle teeth, I think you're right, mate. Seriously, dude.
We know a thing or two because we've seen a thing or two.
Tell me, because this is the shit that excites me, right? I'm like, Keegan, show us your revenue for the month. And you flick it through. When was your first $1 million month? Do you remember it?
You're immediately thinking Shopify, but on those big Teespring months, we only saw the revenue.
Oh, well, then 2014.
Yeah.
Year one.
Yeah, okay. So go Shopify, because that's what everybody knows these days.
For Shopify, it was July. We started it on June 16th, 2016, I believe. And our first $1 million month was November when the election started popping off. So
yeah,
because of that design single-handedly amplified it. And then it was like a slower 4 or 5 months because we were dealing with the fallout from not fulfilling half of it. Also learning, all right, well, now we have this kind of new political niche that we've never really played in before that we need to educate ourselves on. How can we sell the same concept to these people 10 different times? And we did. So then I want to say the next $1 million month was probably, if that was November, we turned off ads for December. So we didn't even run a single campaign in December on Shopify, but we blew up on the Teespring side because they handled all the fulfillment, customer service. So there wasn't really an issue for, we think they did. They probably got annihilated, but then we probably didn't really start hitting the ground running until, again, maybe like the next following April or July. But we still had one foot on Shopify, 1 foot on Teespring.
Yeah. But that's the way you do it. I teach the perfect platform process, which is a lot of piece. But that's literally what it's about. It's so you can keep your options open out there. You know what you're doing. So even though you're creating a brand, like you can still make so much money. When you got the systems in place, you can still make so much money when you're exploring on the platforms.
Absolutely.
And building it out.
And as new things pop up, so you had mentioned country girls. That was one of the niches that we sold a ton on Teespring. We had a design. It was the word love, but we spelled it out with the rope from a cowgirl, like different elements of country.
I used that on jewelry and that crushed.
And it
bikers
crushed.
And nurses.
So it works for every niche. So TV shows like Squid Game, it just came out on Netflix a couple months ago. Oculus, the Quest thing, the virtual reality. You could literally do a design for every new piece of pop culture that pops up in that love design, and it's always going to work for that niche because it's probably never been seen before.
Yeah.
They're making money. There's 20 people here in the Pod Hacker Accelerator group.
Every niche, like everybody in here should take that idea and go, how can I go into something that I'm
well, I will say
within the bounds of copyright.
Now, trying to sell the same cycling shirts that we sold in 2016 is not going to cut it. But imagine there's some sort of word or phrase from Squid Game that makes sense that can be applied to your
red light.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Like, I mean, it's as silly as that, though. Like, watch Squid Game, think of 4 things. One of them will work.
Yellowstone, it's just about to be released in Australia, but don't take it down here. It's a small market.
Yeah, I mean,
USA.
it really can apply and work for everything. It's literally just a matter of doing it. When you try to apply like a lot of the pop culture stuff, it's relevant. So, an example, the Catch Me Out Girl out or Catch Me Outside girl, she was arguing with Dr. Phil and she said, "Catch me outside. How about that?" So we immediately said, "Catch me in Scrubs. How about that? Catch me at the playground. How about that? Catch me at the bar. How about that?" And we did 100 different niches, and it was nuclear, and it wasn't copyright or trademark. It was a saying. It wasn't a logo, but it was something
Brilliant.
everybody knew of. So it's almost like there's little elements in pop culture that if you can intertwine with your designs, that makes it so that cycling design is now cycling plus Squid Game. And when you target the ad, cycling narrowed by Netflix, and chances are they've seen it.
Yep.
What are the biggest opportunities you see right now in print on demand?
Print on demand, I think, is just getting back out. Honestly, doing. I feel like doing is one. Two, if you're not exploring organic opportunities like TikTok or Instagram or Snapchat, try them all. Try to create community. And number three,
Once you have your brand,
yeah, like once that's done, get out there and just do, right? Do it every single day. Number three, I would say stop overthinking and literally just write shit down. Literally, like if you've got a winning design, take a notebook paper and write how many audiences have you targeted in that niche and cross them out until you try every one of them at least once or twice. Because otherwise, you're just giving up. And then once you cross all those out, cross fucking countries out. And once those countries are crossed out, fucking Mars, I'm sure somebody up there will buy something. Scale horizontally. Quit worrying about vertical scaling. Go horizontal, then take all of them up.
Mine would be community. Even if, let's say you're just starting out, you pick out a niche, you don't, well, Ronnie, I don't have a group. I can't advertise to anybody. Go be a part of a group, because eventually you interacting as a consumer in another group, eventually your goal is one day to have a group where that consumer is now your actual consumer. Just be a part of the group. Say, "Hey guys,
Brilliant.
I'm starting a brand," or "Hey guys, look at this t-shirt I just ordered. It's a part of a new company I started. What kind of feedback would you guys offer?" There's ways to interact with your own brand in someone else's group without saying, "Go buy my t-shirt, leave this group, don't interact with this group, go
And
to
for
my
fuck's
group."
sakes, don't do that. Don't design a shirt and then go, "Hey, I just designed this." That's not going to work. That is not smart. That is how you get food, and you're not going to be able to be building any community.
I've got one more thing, Ronnie. Something I use every single day is the Facebook ad library. So if they're on here and they're going, maybe they're new to Facebook ads, maybe they're not. But the Facebook ad library for me shows me how people that are competing with me and against me run their ads. And I can find out how, if they're active, how they're sorting them, and what they look like. So if I'm a jewelry brand, right, and I want to know what the Rolls Royce is doing, I'm going to go to David Yurman. I'm going to go to Pandora. And if all of a sudden I notice Pandora and David Yurman and Tom Ford are all using yellow backgrounds, that's a variable that someone has studied, and I'm going to now use that, right? So you got to take those small little idiosyncrasies. If they use nickel plated, but you're using silver looking or stainless steel, look at the terminology.
I wouldn't recommend silver looking for ad copy ever.
Luxury silver looking,
It's
semi-heavy.
the information from the best of the best when it comes to brands. They might not be the best ad, buyers, but the best of the best brands, they're out there right now. Facebook ad library, anyone can look at it. You can sort it by impressions. You can literally see what they've spent the most money on and go, that ad copy's badass. That will work with my piece of jewelry because it's working with the number one jewelry brand on the planet. So that's another little tidbit that I try to give everyone in our organization. Even if you're not in media buying, always be looking at that, because all of a sudden, if you see that just earrings are popping off, right? And that's all they're running, there's a reason they're running them. Big companies don't spend dumb money.
You know what? The underlying message through this whole conversation from you, Cory, has been curiosity.
Yeah.
Always be curious. Like when you're asking all those questions, you are insatiable for knowledge. And that's the same with this. How are they doing that? It's literally asking the question, because asking the question allows you to take that next step and actually do the doing, go looking for it and find the answer for you to test, and then you just keep doing the same thing.
We're all the
Dude.
same person. Like, that's the crazy part. Sometimes people say, well, I can't do something. And I'm like, listen, I've heard you speak. You're a lot smarter than I am.
Yeah.
I'm doing it. And if I'm doing it, that means somebody else smarter or dumber than me could do it as well.
Exactly.
It's an excuse you make. We all do it of why we can't. You know, Keegan used the idea of getting up early. I do it, man. There's days I don't want to get up and do shit. But I'm like, all right, if I don't do it today, I won't do it tomorrow. And if I don't do it tomorrow, I'm probably not going to do it at all this week. No matter what it is, right?
I honestly don't think anything we do is hard. I think we just have good discipline, and sometimes it takes having bigger balls, like that gambler's mentality of I'm going to toss out 10 of these, and if they don't work, they don't work. But by the law of averages, chances are some are going to.
But for fuck's sake, like, you don't fail until you stop, right? Like, just keep going.
And if you are going to fail, fail fast. So
Exactly.
when you make those mistakes, quickly
And
move on
learn.
to the next. Yep.
You guys,
Don't keep making that same mistake.
Ronnie, have you ever heard the story of the Fred Smith FedEx guy, the CEO? No, I think it's and you guys all have the internet, so you can quote me, or it's in the 70s or 80s, right? You can fact check me. They were down to their last $5,000, and he literally took it to Vegas and turned $5,000 into, it may have been 30 or 50 grand, but it made the payroll for 2 more weeks.
Just deliver the packages. Maybe he wasn't going to be in trouble.
Think about that. So he literally took that company. Who knows what the hell he was doing? Apparently, he was a gambler because he went to Vegas. That was his first thought: not raise more money with VCs or anything, but go to Vegas.
Which risk tolerance.
I think's great. I'm like, this he's a deep ball thrower, and he goes to Vegas and he keeps the company afloat. So he took one more chance. It was a wild one, and look what happened. So he took one more shot. It was out there. Now, please, everybody here, don't go gambling unless you want to.
Yeah, that's certainly not the message, right?
But in reality, he took one more shot. He was willing to go as far as he could and not quit.
What do you think, even if he failed, like if he didn't make money on that, what do you think he would have done?
I think he would have went and rose around. I think he would have went to investors and
he would have persevered.
He would have kept going. Like, he's got grit. Like, he's just finding something that works. Like,
that's crazy, man.
That's what it's the successful is failing more than the unsuccessful. It only stops when you stop. Just keep learning, be curious. Dude, like, it's gold. I love it.
It's been a fun ride, man. It kind of doesn't feel real sometime. You know, of course, we were acquired last year in December. I can't believe it's almost been a year now. And today, something was taken away from us for our request. And it's like, oh, wow, but we always did that. What do we do now? But it's interesting. Now we're a part of a big company. We always said we wanted that, and we got it.
Yeah.
There are days where it's frustrating because anybody listening on this, like the next $100 million acquisition could be you. Like, it truly could, because there's nothing special about what we did. There's not, outside of the fact that we knew how to scale things that worked. We didn't try to get outside of our lanes. And no matter what the numbers told us, we kept trying. Because there were days where it was red, red, red. And it's like, fuck me. Like, when's this red going to stop? And then boom, new idea, it hit. Red's gone. And now all of a sudden we got green. We scale horizontally and then we scale vertically.
The good thing is, once you have a brand, those red days are less and less frequent. They're just starting out, obviously, until you have a large enough quantity of sales and customers to get organic sales just coming in from social posts and email and SMS. That would probably be another thing that we would bestow. LOL, lean on your list. So you should be texting damn near every day, email absolutely once a day, if not twice, and just build the lists up.
So how'd that acquisition come about? So let's follow along with that $1 million month, and then that was that April. When did you start seeing consistent success? Obviously, you're getting consistent success to get there, but in terms of those $1 million months,
it was incrementally every month after that, because every new customer you bring in, then they're going to buy 1 or 2 more times the following month or the month after that, or at every holiday they're going to buy again. And there's ways you can email, you can SMS, you can target your page via ads. You can also, this was one of Cory's ideas. He doesn't have good ideas very often, so I've got to give him credit on it, is postcards. Physically mailing postcards to the segment of your email list that has either unsubscribed they're still buyers. They still like what you sold them. They just don't want emails, or they don't read emails. Send them a physical postcard. Every time we've ever done it, it might cost 20 grand to send an entire postcard thing out. And every time we've always been profitable on it.
And everyone told me that was dead. Like every time you can track it, you run one code and boom, it's math.
Don't tell me I can't do it, because that's a surefire way to get me to do something.
So then just every month over that, it's a snowball effect. The longer the snowball goes down the mountain, the bigger it gets. And it really was that. And, once we started hitting those like $4 and $5 million months, that's when it's almost like we were getting scared of the scale, and knowing that, man, we really took this thing as far as we could as me and Cory. Yeah. We have to find a bigger company to help us achieve that next level of scale, because we're incapable of doing it.
You really realized that, and you leveled up. Dude, that's still part of growth, right? It's fantastic to hear that. Continue. I'm just like admiring. I fucking love it.
2018 was a big year for us. It was our first $25 million year. 2019, we actually had a pullback in 2019 when we tried to internalize a lot of the systems and grow our employees. And then 2020, we started out with a bang. We raised a bunch of money for the fires in Australia, donated $250,000 to the Steve Irwin Family Foundation. I may have just butchered the name. Y'all can fact check me on that. We actually did it. We made the donations. That was pretty wild.
I'll say thank you on behalf of Steve.
Oh, absolutely, dude. They were great people, man. They were really, I think the coolest part about that story in 2020 is we literally picked them, didn't have a conversation, raised the money, and literally said, hey, we've got $250,000 we'd like to donate to your foundation. Where do we send it? And the woman was just like baffled. Wow. Yeah. And that was pretty badass.
Well, yeah, a lot of it's public record, so you could actually look and see what their operating expenses were for the previous year. And I'm pretty sure we damn near matched what it costs to run that foundation. Like, it was a massive part of their budget from the previous year. And of course, now because of the fires, everybody else was donating, so they were getting a lot all at once. So they were very appreciative. They were great to work with. Once again, good karma reaped rewards, because everybody that came to buy an Australia item that we were raising money for, they would buy other stuff, and then they became lifelong fans and bought 10 or 20 or 30 different times down the line.
Well, yeah. And last year we started having the conversations about April. Oh shit, man, this is getting too big. We're starting to break barriers of employment law in the United States of having more than 150 employees. And I came from a corporate world where I had about 700-800 employees, but I also had a massive HR department. I had an employment department. I had all that. Here we did not have that. And Keegan and I were actually doing interviews in a rainy warehouse that we had to get because we were overflowing from the other warehouses. It was the sketchiest shit ever. I'm so glad that the directors that we hired signed on, because I would have been like, what kind of drug house are you running in here? There was one table in a 10,000 square foot facility. We hadn't moved anything there yet. And we were doing interviews with...
Actually, from that really sketchy warehouse we had to be in because we just needed extra space, which was for like overflow orders. We hired, I want to say, 4 really strong candidates that are still with our team and super vital to what we do. But overall, we hired 8 or 9 total. It's the baseball theory again. Had we only hired one person that day, who knows if they would have been good or bad, but we knew that we had to make the risk to hire multiple people, because just averages are always going to be a part of everything you do.
Yeah. So that led us to the conversation of like, we're getting in over our heads. How do we do this without our family lives being affected? We're already workaholics, but at this scale, at the $50 million scale, it's a different world you're living in, especially handling the whole thing, right? If it was POD, man, we'd have pushed this shit to 100 million because we didn't care. But this was our thing where we didn't get that luxury.
What was your work-life balance like through that period?
Not the best. I mean, it wasn't awful, but it wasn't the best because we were always stressed about something. We were on our phones till 12 o'clock at night. If something went wrong, we were the ones dealing with it. We had a problem with really giving up control for a while. And finally, we just said, you know what, let's hire good people we can trust until they give us reason not to, which is tough sometimes. But once we did that, they started making decisions that we didn't agree with. But we let them make the decision. And then we wanted to make sure that they understood whether it worked or it didn't. And we let them. And guess what? It worked. And I'm glad it worked, because if it didn't, I'm sure it'd been another conversation. But I think they respected the fact that we gave them that rope and said, hey, this is your rope now. You lead the way. And 2020 was a great year. We ran into a private equity group out of West Palm, and I can't give a lot of details.
The only reason we ran into them was another one of those things, being a good person, working on the right project, making the right connection and the right relationship led to us meeting the brokerage firm that wound up handling that deal and finding that buyer.
Yep. And we signed December 15th of 2020, and we sold 100% of the security and stock in our company. We're under contract for 3 years. So we'll be working, of course, with Blue Pack Marketing, and hopefully longer after that. I think that what we've built is something pretty wild. Getting to see the automations and systems get in our warehouses and having formal HR departments. There's so many benefits to that. It's weird sometimes when you have to like fill out a document to go out to dinner, where I'm like, man, we used to just go out to dinner and just, it is what it is. And they don't care. They let us be us, and they let us manage and build the business continually. But we just got to fill out a form sometimes.
You should be so proud of yourself, guys. Like, you know, you've done the hustle, you did the work, and you stayed true to yourself. It's so respectable. And have you taken a step back after this, all the world went and gone, you know what? I'm fucking awesome.
I want to say we did for like 5 minutes after it closed, and then we were like, all right, we gotta get back to it.
That's
Well, it's funny, you know,
Yeah.
Kobe Bryant, rest in peace, had a line, and I loved it. And they asked Kobe, they were up 3-0 in the finals, I believe. And they said, Kobe, aren't you pumped? You're up 3-0. Like, you just got to win one more game. And he said, job's not done. Like, it's not. Like, and they swept them, and they won the series. But in reality, that's kind of how we were. We celebrated for 5 minutes, and
that's right.
but
it's your spirit, right? You celebrate what you've achieved, but your spirit's not going to be. You keep going. It's not necessarily to find bigger and better opportunities, but there's a desire inside that just keeps you showing up and doing what you're doing.
I was going to say, even though it is very much a mentality, all right, back to work, job's not done, there is a percentage that does allow you to not to work your knuckles to the bone, because we finally have the resources that we can trust, you know, systems and processes and automations where, you know, that call at 9 p.m. on a Saturday night, now we're lounging, relaxing with the family, and that call isn't happening or going to us anymore because there's a system or process in place. So it is nice because it still very much is job not done, but also there is a level where you don't have to be as crazy as it was before.
And look, when I hung out with you guys when I was over there, one thing that really stood out to me about both of you was your relationships with your family. And you could so clearly tell that you're in love with your partners and you have so much fun with your kids, that there's clearly some balance in there. And that in itself was inspiring as well. And you still see your photos all the time, Keegan. Like, you're happily sharing the photos of your family. And I love that. And that's what this Pod Hacker is all about, right? Because print on demand is the way it is. Once you got the focus and you know the structure of how you should run your week, you can do a lot of work in a short amount of time and make enough money to step back and enjoy what we're doing here.
And if anything ever takes a long time, ask somebody that knows more than you, how can I do this faster? Because every single task, there's still stuff that I do that other people can do faster, and I want to learn, because then that saves time where I can accomplish things faster. I can complete my day faster, which provides for a better work-home life balance.
Yeah. And do you have mentors or coaches that you pay or anything like that?
I was going to say, honestly, pretty much it was Ty Hulse. I mean, us starting with Ty on Teespring several years ago, and after the Teespring era, like the Roman Empire fell, after that era kind of came to an end, we were on our own. And it's almost like the scale hit so fast that we didn't really have an opportunity to find a mentor or to find anybody. It has been really helpful. And you could probably emphasize with this a little bit as well. There's 2 of us. So that means tasks are divided. Things that I'm not good at, he's good at. Things that he's bad at, I'm awesome at.
Angles.
Yep.
Well, you also can when you're making a big decision, if it's a decision that could impact big amounts of money or personnel, you can pitch off people. And sometimes when you're by yourself, and I came from that world in the corporate world where you're by yourself, it's a little lonely. It can be. So it's nice to kind of have someone there. And, you know, a lot of people, whether it's a partner or a mentor or just a sounding board, or sometimes just saying it out loud, will make you at least think about it before you do it.
And if you don't have a partner, definitely something like PodHacker, or something like having a mentor or a group setting an entrepreneurial mastermind.
Yeah, it's a
You,
brother.
you definitely need to have the opportunity to vocalize and communicate what's going on, your pitfalls, your struggles, your wins, your losses. So I definitely encourage the hell out of paying to be a part of groups, because nothing in life is free, ever.
Absolutely. And yeah, look, you guys, there's so many freaking questions that I want to ask on so many different elements. But going back along the way and doing those big dollar months, right? So this is the third time I'm going back to cover off on it. But now what I want you to do is tell us about what it allowed you to do. Because Cory, I know you fucking love cars. Keegan, I know you're the same. Tell me about that. Because when I came over there, that was the first time ever that I'd driven a sports car. Mind you, on the wrong side of the road in the middle of the night. That was quite interesting. 500 horses under the bonnet, or the wood, as you'd say. But yeah, tell us about the fun, like what it allowed you to do.
I think the coolest part is to get to see everyone in our inner circle get successful. I think that was probably one of the cooler things for me. You know, we've taken care of, you know, our mom, and we both got a house that probably is a little excessive, you know, cars that
Or
probably,
yours, it's like a bloody castle.
well, you know, I needed a humble abode and it just happened to be here. But no, I mean, I wanted a sports car forever. And, you know, now I've literally sampled every one on the market. I've had McLarens. I've got a Lamborghini right now.
What Lamborghini? Is that the Urus?
The Urus. Yep.
Yeah.
So I've had a 720, a 570. I've had an Aston Martin DB11. You know what's crazy is relationships, though. I've got a friend at the dealer now. I've done so much business with them where I can get in and out of a car and I have not lost $1 on a vehicle from that dealer. That's the coolest thing. Like, I am net positive, and unless you're really, you know, friends with the dealer or, you know, in exotics, that's hard to say, but, you know, it's fun. Like, I've had a blast. If you want to get in to do something fun, do it. Don't let somebody go, well, you don't need that. They have no room to tell you what you need and don't need. But the cars, the houses, we've been everywhere in the country. I'm still trying to get Keegan to travel abroad. I'm willing to go wherever.
Come down here.
Oh, dude.
Steve Irwin, the Australia Zoo is like just down the road. It's literally 20 minutes away.
I 100% would come. Tell Keegan to get on a damn plane. Take a Xanax. Calm down.
Can't you buy one? Just get your own.
That'll be round 2.
I was going to say, I don't think you were down here, but I've got an Audi R8 that honestly kind of collects dust. I've driven it like twice in the last 2 or 3 months. I feel shitty saying that out loud, but I much prefer the more luxurious, slower. I've got a G-Wagon. Love it to death. I mean, I'd like to think I have a solid house. It's not Cory's castle, but it'll do. I would definitely say, like, there's 2 things. Whenever we did find success, being able to reward yourself, paying off debts, taking care of your family, stuff like that as well, but also making sure that you never let the fire out, which occasionally you may struggle with that when you have success, but just finding things like, we want better for our inner circle. That means I have to continually work. I want a better life for my kids' kids. I don't want to drop the line of wealth, you know, just to my son. I want my son's children and, you know, his grandchildren to be well off. So that's what we continue working on. And yeah.
So you're telling everybody, Keegan, just to go buy Shiba Inu coin? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, if I want to make some money on it. I got in late.
But yeah, I just got told if you had to put $1,000 on that at the beginning of the year, it'd be pretty crazy right now for you.
Yeah, I didn't do that.
That whole thing's crazy. I love it. I just love that it's a fun, crazy environment, man. It's a different world we're in now.
What's the highlight of the whole thing? Oh, I love this industry. Like, it's so fun. Like, it's so dynamic. There's always something different about it to focus on while still focusing on.
I think probably one of my favorite parts of it is, so there's a third brother, our little brother, Parker. You met him when you were out here. Mm-hmm. I think when you met him, he was actually in the shitty, like, old restroom that we converted into an office. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So just over the years, 5-6 years, and he's worked in damn near every single role: production, marketing, accounting, a little bit of everything. And he's pretty much our number 2. It's always been nice to see him go. And we make the joke all the time, but super hard worker, going literally from like a janitorial closet to being somebody we can have a confidential conversation with, that we can have. If we can't be on a client meeting, I feel comfortable him taking that meeting, which, with high level clients, that's a huge issue. The more faces that they see, they get weird about, people coming and going. So you really don't want to ever miss a meeting. Totally comfortable with him taking
He's
those.
23 years old, busted his ass, owns his own home, and has a Corvette Z06, and he's 23. That's probably one of the cooler things, getting to see, and he's seen people come and go. He's seen the industry change. He's stuck with us. And, there'll be a day when we eventually potentially do step away from the business we've built. And maybe he comes with us. Maybe he steps into our role. We don't know, but he'll have that opportunity. And that's cool. That's cool to see somebody kind of take it by the horns and say, you know what? I'm going to do the right thing. And eventually, I'm not going to ask for it, but eventually it'll pay off. And so far it has for him. So that's pretty cool, man.
It's so good. Guys, I love it. I don't want to let you go because I just want to keep asking you questions, but I'm pretty sure it's getting on into the AM over there. What time is it?
It's only 10 here.
10.
Oh, shit, we got plenty of time. So how do you workshop ideas before you go?
So what?
Because I remember when we were over there, one of the things that would stand out for us was that the workshopping of your ideas was just very interesting, like how you were able to bounce it around the table. And it was around the time that you had that Tinkerbell for that Tinkerbell thing. And it was genius. And then you had all the meow ones, whatever they were. But that process of you just sitting around the table and you're jamming on it, and someone says something funny and you build on it. And it's really, really cool to see you do that. How do you do it now? What's your process coming up with ideas?
Customers do it for us.
Yeah, we don't even do it anymore.
Do some work, make some money.
We've built
your own work.
We've built a community now where it's pretty cool, where it's like a Facebook group or anything else, right? We can meow mate, right? We put it in there and go, oh my God, this is so cute. What else could we do with this? And your tribe will tell you what to do.
However, that's an easy answer when you have a tribe. But, for those that don't, what I would recommend is just going to Pinterest and typing funny cycling shirt, silly cycling shirt. And then honestly, it really helps if you're creative. So earlier I said you could take that same love design and put different design elements of Squid Game or an Oculus Quest, or maybe it's love, but the O is the Bitcoin logo, because I don't think Bitcoin's a company, but there's so many ways that you can engineer past successes of different love design shirts for new things that check into the arena. And it literally could be, what I would recommend is, let's say someone is a cycling enthusiast. You have cycling on one column, and then on the right, you have tennis, basketball, nursing, cooking, and you have to literally find the connection between the two niches that would make sense. There you go. That could be looking at cycling shirts, nursing shirts, seeing what connections you could draw between the two, and then coming up with a silly idea. If you find a nursing shirt that feels like it could be twisted, add a comma or add an extra line. I think one of the ones that we did was, I run on caffeine, chaos, and cuss words. So instead of chaos, I run on caffeine, cows, and cuss words. At that point, we literally Googled nouns that start with C, and we did every single one of them.
But you got to think pop culture changes, right? Now I know we've used Bitcoin. Throw crypto in there. Somebody has an idea. We just gave you an idea. I run
on caffeine, crypto, and cuss words.
Oh,
that guaranteed would sell.
There you go. So Ronnie, this right here, though, it's a sounding board, right?
Yeah.
The idea of what Keegan just said is a piece of paper. It's a sticky note, and it's just going deeper of, he said tennis and cycling, right? Quit staring at them. One's a wheel, one's a tennis ball.
I'm going to give away a mega gem. It's not even a golden nugget. It's a mega gem. Christmas is coming up. So if it's cycling, if it's motorcycling, whatever the niche is, have that in mind, but also think last year I literally spent 2 hours researching the Billboard top 100 songs. And let's say the top one is Nicki Minaj. I would go in another tab and I would type the name of the song, Nicki Minaj, blank, blank, whatever the name of the song is, lyrics. I would go to the chorus because people know the chorus. That's what they associate with any popular song. And I would look for words that might rhyme with a Christmas word or something that I could put Grinch in. And then immediately I have hip hop narrowed by the Grinch, or hip hop narrowed by Christmas, hip hop narrowed by Christmas music. And I would have a Nicki Minaj pop culture reference custom ass Grinch shirt that has something to do with nursing. Or maybe it's just check me out. It's a picture of a cat with a Santa Claus hat, and then he has a stethoscope. Now you've got Christmas plus cat plus nursing, and you swap out little elements. So I did that for Nicki Minaj. I did it for the next top 20 songs. And there are tons of websites of nouns that start with C, Christmas glossary words that start with the letter F. And that's literally how I came up with 30 of our newest Christmas designs last year. And all of them didn't work. Honestly, only 10 did. However, those 10 were so unique that nobody had ever seen them before because I literally came up with them. I'm not mega creative, but I do know if I can find a word or a synonym or something that rhymes or in a spot I can put Grinch, it's going to make enough sense and be unique enough. It's going to sell really well. So if you do that for Nicki Minaj on the Billboard Top 100, there's 100 artists, there's 100 songs, and they cycle out every 3 weeks.
Endless.
Honestly, go back to the 70s. You could do that same exact methodology for the Eagles.
That could be your store. Like you literally, that's all you do. That's the brand in itself. Holy shit. Keep going.
Oh, that's it.
No. You know what? I keep seeing this one pop up, and it's a candle, and I reckon this can apply for so many different niches. It's a new motorbike candle. Smells like you're not getting one. That's so funny. And then if you got a shirt, a new motorbike shirt, feels like you're not getting one. Like you just got that one. Oh, it's across everything. So many niches. I've never seen that, but the same thing, right?
There's something there with what you said earlier on the red light. Yeah. And then you narrow by Netflix. Boom. Now you've got Squid Game plus whatever you want out there.
Mm-hmm. Hold me like he held him at the red light. Like you can take this and do so much with it.
I don't know about that one, but
well, he held him up, right? He lived. I think I haven't seen it.
Test it.
You need to get past. Yeah,
we can't assume.
You need to get past episode 2 and actually watch it.
I think.
Man, I could I got to like episode 4 and I was like, this is like my son's at me. Yeah, we gotta watch it, Dad. We gotta watch it. I'm like, dude, the only reason you want to watch it is because it's so freaking boring. It is boring.
My son said the same thing. And then a week later, he comes in and he goes, Dad, you see the ending? I'm like, who the hell let you watch that? He's all
right, boys, I better let you go.
Well, let's do this again, man. Let's get if you want to pick a time, maybe next month or something. I think what is it, November? Yeah, December would be great. Pick a time, and if your people want to even come up with questions, give us a date and we'll hop back on, man.
Have you got some time for a Q&A? If they've got some questions now, would you like to?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yes.
Yep.
All right, guys, let's go. Bring your best questions. High value, remember, no pixel questions. Let's go.
I'm surprised Cory held an audience this long. I thought they would have bailed once they heard him talking.
Holy shit, man. Are you serious? So 2 nights ago, I thought this conversation was happening yesterday. I've not slept for the last 10 days because it's so busy right now. I've never been more busy in my life. I woke up at 1:30 going, I am so excited, like fanboying over this conversation, thinking about the questions I'm going to ask. And I just couldn't get back to sleep. I'm like, fuck's sake, Ronnie, just turn it off. I didn't get back to sleep at all. I got out of bed at 5 o'clock into the gym. I was like, I'm just going to go. And I looked at my calendar when I got to the office. I was like, it's fucking tomorrow. Oh, God. And guess what time I was up this morning?
5?
Same. No, 1:30.
Oof.
Good.
Because I went over it again. But look, I'm channeling my inner David Goggins right now. When he's trained for the 100-miler. And he's like, he didn't want to go to hospital. He's like, this is my pain. Nobody else got to enjoy it.
We've talked a lot about us. You're a famous TikTok influencer. So I don't have 75,000 followers.
You don't have any followers.
Agreed.
That's awesome.
No, don't you have like over 100,000?
Yeah, Piper's TikTok account is at 140,000.
I wanted to be at 100 by Christmas. So I've still got time, but I've got no bandwidth. I'm like, I need to get more content on there and now, like, even just doing this whole process, like, I've got the best coach in the world helping me through creating the offer that is the Pod Hacker Accelerator. Just with a fine-tooth comb, everything is so amazing. Every time I speak to him, he's got the next 6 steps planned out. He's so humble. Anyway, it's so good to be around people like that to get that clarity around it. And this is like what you guys are doing right now is you have the offer that I've created is reinforced so heavily from what you guys have said today. It's just incredible. So these questions, I have to rewatch tomorrow. That's not a question. What is your TikTok, boys?
Well, we used to own the brand Piper Lou. Piper Lou's got a TikTok. Do you have one? I don't think I have one.
No, so I actually don't have a personal, outside of Facebook, I don't have social media. Cory has an Instagram. I have like a random user 9,162 type TikTok handle that I don't post on, but I watch on. The Piper Lou account has 140,000 followers, but that's 100%. I don't post on there at all. That's why it's only at 140,000. Maybe if I posted, we'd be at like probably 132,000 because I'd lose followers.
That's all right. Look, it's for entertainment purposes, I believe. Megan's awesome. She's another Aussie. So there's a question here. Is it still possible to make the big bucks on Spring or is it all too saturated? I'll go first and then you can, like, you're going to completely change the answer. But I still believe you can make a lot of money on Teespring with the right angles and encouraging the group buys, right? Like AOV, increase it, like friends and family, like the reunion stuff. But anyway, based on those shirts that you were saying before and the choruses, that's so unique. The conversion cost when you first launch them would be more than enough to scale to a point that allows you to make money.
You're 100% right, though. If you've got the right product or design or saying, 100% you can still do that. If you're converting under $5 and it's viral, I don't give a shit. If Teespring's printing it, I'm printing it, we're printing it in Australia, it's going to work. And if you're doing math of cost is 10, I'm selling for 25, I've got $15 to acquire that customer and it's converting at 5, you're making $10. Do that a bunch of times. It doesn't matter where you're doing that at. So yes, 100% yes.
And this is a thing. This is the consistency, guys. And I keep telling you every time I speak to you, it's all about consistency. Because when you find that one that connects, it's like, how do I spin this out? Because you've got the secret sauce all of a sudden. You have your way in. And that is when you start scaling out horizontally first, right? And then really just build on it.
From a selling component or like a selling standpoint, absolutely yes. It's not like, oh, well, the orange has already been squeezed all the way. It's all gone. There's no more sales. That doesn't exist because if anything, every day we're creating new and more and more new Amazon shoppers, more and more e-commerce shoppers. I think when we first started in all of retail, e-commerce was like 11% of the overall retail numbers. And by around the time of COVID, it increased like 20 years in the span of 6 months. And we're all the way up like plus 20% of all retail now. So every day we're creating more and more e-commerce buyers. So there's still plenty there. However, my one thing with Spring, as long as you have a vessel of your own, I would say you can hit the big bucks. You can make good money on Spring without your own brand, but there's more money in selling to one person the second, third, and fourth time, which you would need an email list and a brand to acquire them and keep them. But imagine if you were that buyer, if you just bought a random t-shirt from Spring, are they truly buying it from your brand or are they buying it from Spring?
But as a starting point, it's not to be ignored.
Yep.
But once you've connected with that niche,
yes,
that's fun. That's when you build your brand. What would be the one thing that you'd do right now if you lost everything and had to start from scratch again?
I would join 10 different Facebook groups and kind of see which one is the most active. And it would be for a niche or a hobby of mine. And I would see what are people posting? Is there an opportunity for a print on demand opportunity there, or is it more, non-POD? What kind of item are these people buying? Myself, I'm a sports fan. So in a lot of these sports groups that I'm in, people are posting about sports cards all the time. Sports cards is an entire industry. And this isn't necessarily like a POD, non-POD type question, but I would see, what are people interested in? What are they buying? What are they selling? And how can I do it 10 times better than them and create a community that encompasses whatever they're trying to achieve? So in that scenario, it would be creating a community around sports cards. And then obviously the same elements of what we've talked about for 2 hours now is you build up a community and you find ways to sell these catchy designs and t-shirts and mugs and necklaces to them, because we've seen this, whether it's motorcycles, sports cards, you can sell a similar phrase or design on a coffee mug, a tumbler, a shirt. It doesn't matter. If they're passionate about the hobby, they're going to buy it.
There's a question in here, and I love being asked this, because once you get clarity around this, it becomes so much easier just to move forward and stop looking behind you. So the question is, well, it's a statement. I don't want to post something that the design is stolen. And I remember you telling me all those years ago, Keegan, it's like, that is forever going to happen. You can't do that. Stay ahead of the game. Just keep going forward. Stop looking at the competition and create something unique that people want to love.
Act like it doesn't exist.
Exactly. People are going to continually do it. You can't do anything about it. No matter how creative you think that is, you've got better stuff that you can do. Do it. Just don't worry about the negative, because there's plenty of it. But if you focus on that positive, you're going to find more of that too.
Well, also, if you take that kind of into thought of moving past that, one in those next 5 or 10 ideas is going to hit. It's the law of averages.
Sure.
So you spend
Absolutely.
15 hours on this one and it's negative and it's copyright, forget that. One of these next 5 or 10 of your ideas will work. It's the law of averages. So just tell yourself that. Oh my God, they took it down because it's this or that. You can bitch, you can complain, you can, well, I want to get a trademark lawyer. Don't do that. It's not worth it.
It's a waste of time, 100%. And the other thing, and people, you see it all the time, all the harbingers, like in the news feeds, ad costs are through the roof. It costs so much, blah, 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 blah. But you know what? People still want to buy. And it's through that consistency and showing up and knowing that your top of funnel traffic will convert when they've got something creative in front of them that they want to buy. Stop worrying about what's happening to everybody else in this industry. The drop shippers, they run their ads completely different to print on demand. The brand build's completely different because they're brand building, right? Like with print on demand, we're asking for that sale when we first put the product in front of them, and then we build the brand off the back of that.
You're right.
And we're internet marketers. So one thing that I would recommend, find one group outside of PodHacker, one group that you're comfortable with, that you like.
And tell them about PodHacker.
Yeah. Perfect opportunity there. So find one of those groups and remove yourself from everything else. One of the best decisions we ever made was being a part of one group and nothing else. And it's not necessarily to say, all right, well, that one group is infinitely better than the others. It's more so that it's all noise. And one person complaining about CPMs or some issue in one group has no correlation, anything to do with what you're doing in another entire sector. And it'll help remove shiny object syndrome. It'll help remove whiny negative posts, which that's mostly what Facebook is. It's really about removing negativity for the most part.
Absolutely. And I've said to everyone in here that we're using the PodHacker Accelerator group as positive intent. When we're using social media, we're using it to boost us and build us to move forward. So this group that we're in right now, the Facebook group, I mean, if you're watching on YouTube, but if you're in here now, it's literally and I'm incredibly passionate about it. I love the mastermind. I love the positivity. I love jamming with like-minded people because you leave from those conversations absolutely buzzed.
I would say that's how we started. We had T-shirt bomb with tie holes, and it's no longer a thing or a group anymore, but There was so much positive affirmation. There were good friendships forged. I would recommend, and I didn't get paid to promote T-Shirt Bomb at all. I shouted about it from the rooftop or from the mountaintops, and I brought tons of people to that group because there was serious value, but also it was a good community. So just having other like-minded people that are seeking and finding, if there's 20 people in this class, in this group right now, one of them is going to be an absolute rock star. Just law of averages.
Dude, like everyone that I've spoken to, like I've absolutely loved it. And I'm so glad they're in here. They've all got incredible energy. They all have the can-do attitude. There's no victim mentality. They're in here because they tick the boxes that I needed them to tick when I was interviewing them for this. And one of the things is, if you're not 100% in, if there's any level of doubt, this is not the program for you. And I say that to everyone because it's so true, and it's so critical that the vibe in that group is high.
There's going to be somebody that's going to excel. Try not to be jealous. Try to leech onto them for information. And chances are, when you have a positive community, they're going to want to share. They're going to want the other 19 people to crush it and do good. And hopefully that one rock star is actually 5 or 10 rock stars. And then you can share with the other part of the community what you're doing to be successful. And then you're only as strong as your weakest link. You know, with T-Shirt Bomb, I always wanted to help everybody because I wanted everybody to do good.
Absolutely. And that's another thing I say, when you're in that group and you see somebody else celebrating those wins, they've just used the same fundamentals as you. Celebrate them. Keep doing what you're doing because you're doing exactly what they did. Your success is coming to you. You've just been proven that it's coming. You've seen it happen. So that's what you're pulling on from that group. You're not listening to the negative CPM costs or the why won't my product sell? It's because they're fucking ugly and nobody wants them. But you know, that they don't get it. Come over here, enjoy the energy. Enjoy the energy, because that's what we need. Because until we find a few winners, it is a bit tough. Like when you're spending money, that hard-earned cash, it gets uncomfortable. And like you said, there's lots of red. There's lots of red. But through your grit, and you're showing up and your consistency and that schedule that you're all being given, you're going to find the green. It's just a matter of time. And when you get that, that's when you take off. Shine-On's not going to know what to hit them. There's going to be all these accelerating students absolutely crushing, going, what water are they drinking in there?
Give them more of it.
Like, I fucking love this. I love it so much. And I know the power of it, because if you guys were on the Sunshine Coast here, you would 100% be in this group. But I remember going to battle with, you know, the Facebook war that we do on a daily basis at some point, and going, I need to be around guys that are absolutely crushing it. I need to be elevated to that level where it just draws me back up, because I was getting a little bit negative. And for me to get negative, I'm a pretty positive person. I was like, something's up here. I'm going to do something about it. So I reached out to a bunch of friends that are in business, that have that growth mentality, that I knew, you know, would love it. There's like 70 guys in that group now. 5 to 10 of us catch up each month when I can get around to organizing it. It's, you know, I've been pretty busy the last couple of months. But we get around, we throw a steak on the open fire at the farm gym just up the road here. We have a coffee, 6:30 in the morning, and we just talk. And it's not necessarily just about business. It's really about energy. It's like somebody's done something awesome, and you're having a conversation about that, and you're all that growth mentality. So you start jamming on ideas for people just randomly, and it's just like, it lifts everybody. And that's why some people are going to look at me and go, holy, what is this dude on? But seriously, the power of that positive mindset, that abundant thinking, when you're in this group and you're operating your business from a place of fundamentals, you've got the rock solid foundation in place. Like you said, Cory, right at the start, like once you've got that, when you're just starting, or whether you're doing $1 million months or $10 million months, like it's going to be so much easier to manage at that high. So anyway, I can go on for hours about this.
Well, listen, I got to run, but I do want to just, in closing, thank you, Ronnie, for bringing us on. Everybody in the incubator, definitely do this again. But it's fun. I glanced at my phone and it was like 10:30 and I missed some calls and whatnot. But I keep this. And I know I'm a guy with I like showing you things, but it's on my phone. Let's see. Where's the camera? I don't know if you can see it. Oh, damn.
Why is it so smudgy? That's
I don't know.
disgusting.
But it said yesterday, you said
Tomorrow.
and I've left it there for years. Take that mentality. If you keep pushing it off, you will not do it. Just fucking
right.
do it. Like, just do it. Get started. If you don't have the routine, get the routine. If Ronnie sent you the routine and you're like, well, I'll do it tomorrow. No, you won't. Do it today. Get the shit done today.
My last thing in closing would definitely be thanks for, it's always fun because we get so caught up in just executing and working that there's never really a lot of time to sit back, reflect, and just communicate and discuss the wins, the losses, and talk shop because we're all running our own businesses. But I would definitely say for anybody in your program, just say, what would you do if you were me? And get different intake or get different inputs from different people. And you saying that you have that group of people that meets up every month, it's genius because everybody isn't going to be a rock star 100% of the time. We mentioned red months. Like, it hasn't been all rainbows and butterflies and sunshine, but during those periods of time, it's always good to have positive affirmations around you and hearing how one person, something they've done in their business could help take you out of that slump. Or that if they haven't been able to come up with a good design or a good idea or a good niche, asking someone, what would you do if you were me? And they'll give you valuable input.
Absolutely. Guys, seriously, I cannot begin to thank you. I tell you how much I appreciate you doing this. This is why I didn't sleep, because I was just freaking excited. It's been so good. And I can't wait to get back over there, go to Angus Barn with you again, drive those silly cars, have some fun, drink some whiskey. It's going to happen. And look, I would love to do this again. And I can't wait. It's been heaps and heaps of fun. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Ronnie, thank you guys. You guys have a good night.
Cheers, guys.
Thanks, man.